great day to be an Eagle. One more time for the greatest team in
All right, Cody. Well, Georgia Southern takes care of business up in Huntington, West Virginia for the first time in 35 years. And first time in the current stadium of Marshall. Georgia Southern wins that one 24-19 to become bowl eligible, 6-6 overall to close out the regular season, 4-4 in Sun Belt play. We will talk about that game. We will talk about the bowl game. We're recording this the Sunday after that Marshall game, so we don't know where we will be bowling or who we will be playing against. But we'll kind of talk about the bowl as a whole, of kind of the importance, what we'd like to see out of that. And then also some big news that broke earlier today on Sunday is that we are moving on from defensive coordinator Brandon Bailey. I'm also moving on from linebackers coach Alex Garwig. I'm sure more changes, probably at least on the defensive side of the ball, to come after that bowl game. But for now, those two individuals will not. That's effective immediately. They will not be coaching. In the bowl game, Darius Safford will be coaching the secondary and the defensive play caller for that bowl game. Cody.
Yeah, no, it's it's a typical, what I feel like, a victory for us, in which we either have a hard start or we have a couple of really good quarters, and then it's survival at the best in the other two quarters. I thought there were some great things in yesterday's game. I think there were some bad things in yesterday's game. Especially, I felt like we really tried to give it away. I mean, I don't know. That fourth quarter just seemed to be really bad. But in terms of the news, I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody's surprised, Matt. This should be the only thing that should shock me is that it took so long in the day for it to come out.
Well, and even the timing. I mean, a lot of people wanted this earlier in the season. I think it was made clear midway through the season or somewhere around that mark when things were really trending bad, and obviously continued to. But when we didn't make a change there, I think it was clear that we weren't going to be making a change during the regular season anyway. But thankfully we didn't wait until like after the bowl game, which typically I don't think teams do, but yeah, at least it did come the day after the close of the regular season. Had to happen. I haven't looked at the exact numbers. I know we were dead last entering the Marshall game. We were below our season averages on defense in against Marshall. Obviously only give up the 19 points, but only give up 372 yards. So holding a team to under 400, which has been hard to come by, only happened, I think, one Maine and maybe one other time.
I don't know.
But we were, 450, 460 mark. And came in 134th in the nation, dead last. So I'll look it up here in a second, but I'm sure we're probably still at the bottom there, if not second to last in the country. And that's just not acceptable, right? I mean, Clay Helton's a memo, or the memo that the school and communications coordinator and stuff put out, basically said, that's not the standard, and defense wins championships and this and that. And look, you hate for anybody to lose their job, including the linebackers coach and any other men that, move on, as a result of this. But yeah, I mean, results are results, and it was a very consistent pattern. And I think it was clear, again, very early on, not just a revelation that happened in the last 24, 48 hours, that something had to change. And at the minimum, it had to be a mass overhaul on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, completely agree with that. Again, I think what I want to harp on is, at the minimum, this is what had to happen.
Yeah.
I think honestly, we probably need wholesale changes at both sides of the ball with both coordinators. But this definitely is the one that needed to happen, and needed to happen immediately. So we'll see what happens with it. We'll see. Go ahead.
Do you think it's a sign? I mean, obviously, again, the head of the defense is gone, so you have to think, like, maybe they retain, one position coach or an analyst or somebody like that, but obviously it'd probably have some wholesale changes there on the defensive side of the ball, since they didn't announce anything on the offensive side of the ball or elsewhere, right? Special teams or strength and conditioning or anyone like that. Do you think if that was going to happen, it would have been a part of the same memo?
I would think so, but at the same time, maybe not. Maybe they don't want too many changes going into bowl prep and to the bowl game themselves
So
itself.
if we had
So
lost to Marshall, maybe like that
maybe
looks
maybe you would have
announcement
a
looks a
whole
little different.
complete yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe for the others, they're letting them have the bowl game and bowl prep as time to maybe continue to try to prove themselves to stick around for next year. Whereas I think with Bailey and company, it was there. It didn't matter what happened in the bowl game; we had to let go. And to be honest, I think now that I kind of think about it, I think if you want to try to hire the best person, you need to go ahead and let them go now. And so maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that this is the only changes we're gonna make, and
That's
see
what
how
I'm
that.
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. I get the effect that it could have on the team and stuff, but look, we're 0-3 in bowls under Clay Helton. We'll talk about
yeah.
that here in a minute. So I don't know if anything you could do is going to like hurt your chances that much more, right? I mean, I don't think guys are necessarily going to like enter the transfer portal and stuff or like opt out of the bowl game because like their coordinator or assistant coach, position coach is leaving necessarily. So yeah, I'm with you. I think this was already set in stone with the Bailey thing, and I think keeping Applin was already set in stone long
Yeah.
before the Marshall game.
Yeah, I also wonder if part of the thinking is that because the defense was so bad that it affected the way that the offense performed, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's fair. I
is that
think
a
they
fair point? Like, could that be a fair
yeah,
point?
it's a yin and yang, right? I mean, it's two parts of the team that feeds off of each other. So I
Yeah.
mean, if you have in the Marshall game, our time of possession looked like the old
Mm-hmm.
flexbone triple option days under Munkin and Paul Johnson and stuff. 41 minutes we held on to the football. They only had 18. They only had the ball for 18 minutes and 22 seconds. Still get 18 first downs, 372 yards, like I said, 308 passing yards, and 19 points. Only
That's
six
crazy.
in the first half.
Yeah, they pretty much held the ball for just like 30% of the game.
Yeah,
And in that time, they almost had 400 yards of offense
right.
for as little as what they had. That's pretty.
Yeah, where we had
That's pretty bad.
528, which is a great offensive
Yeah.
showing, right, to your point. And yeah, definitely no complaints there. But yeah, when you look at it of like we had the ball more than twice as much than they did, and honestly the numbers aren't so far off, so and again it was in the first half. It was dominant in the first half, and then you just started seeing it starting to see it change, started to see it slip away, starting to see those first downs and third and longs and stuff convert, start seeing them obviously get in the end zone.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's the thing is like again is just that trend of like not being able to have sustained success. We've had some blips here and there, where we were able to get some stops, get some key turnovers but can't do it consistently over 4 quarters, and also, a serious lack of adjustments. And if the team you're going up against is worth their salt and can figure out, your weaknesses, then they'll have, they have 60 minutes to figure that out.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right with that. And again, I think I was just while you were talking, I was sitting there looking at the last couple of drives that Marshall had to wrap up the game. And it was a touchdown for 4 plays of 60 yards. Then they had another drive of 10 plays for 73 yards that ended with a turnover of downs. We punt. Their last drive is a touchdown, which makes it 24-19, and then we run out the play clock. My biggest thing with this offense, and this has nothing really to do with the defense and how it plays, is that when we're given like that, we're given opportunities to really put games away, where we're up multiple scores and we really have a chance to put the nail in the coffin and end it with no shot of the other team coming back to win the game. We don't do that with this offense. We don't do that with Appling. right? Every game, even if we're up multiple scores, we seem to have a way to let this team just creep back into it. And same thing with yesterday or the Marshall game. They crept back into that game. Honestly, I felt like we should have been up like 45-10 at one point, and it should have been just a complete blowout and walk in the park after about halfway through the third quarter.
Yep.
But that wasn't the case. And you're looking, in the fourth quarter with about 2 minutes left, and it's a one possession game, and you're like, we could very easily lose this game if we mess this up. Like, I mean, and we nearly, you're like, how did we get in this position where we feel like you should be up by 3 or 4 scores?
Yeah, and that is on the offense, right?
And that's where I would think that's my biggest. Like, I'm trying to.
We
think
saw
of,
that against App. App was a good example of that, right?
Jacksonville State.
Jacksonville State. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Jacksonville State.
Where I don't feel like Appling or they don't have that killer instinct to just put the game away, just knock it out.
We've talked about it. Yeah, we've talked about it. It's like we have not had that at all this season where we just like really felt comfortable. Maybe Georgia State. That's the only one I can think of. And I mean, obviously they had a horrible season. They only get one win against FCS opponent. That's 41-24. That one felt comfortable in the fourth quarter, but no other game felt comfortable. Yeah, Jacksonville State, you're biting your fingernails. Marshall, you're biting your fingernails. Coastal, you're biting your fingernails. App State, dominant first half, and then barely hang on to win 25-23. So yeah, and that's on offense. I mean, like in those games, I mean, obviously not probably not Jack State because defense certainly didn't play well there and give up 34 points. But App State, hold them to 23. Again, a lot of that came in the second half, but only being able to score 25, right? I think we only had either 3 or 6 points in the second half of that one. Only 3 or 6 points in the Coastal game in the second half. Marshall, we did get a touchdown in that one, right? 10 points in the third quarter, but outscored 7-0 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So it's just that's offense. I mean, like, it's if you're able to possess the ball for 40 minutes, you need to be able to score more than 24 points
or put up nearly 600 yards of offense.
Yeah, right.
You gotta put more than 24 points on the board. Yeah, I feel like that's right now. If you're gonna, I think there's a lot of concerns, but my biggest concern is that with the offense is that we just don't have that mindset or that philosophy that when we're have a shot to really put the game away in the third quarter or even in the second quarter. If you look at, to me, the Jacksonville State game and just go up by just an ungodly amount of points and make the team quit or make the opponent quit, we just don't do that. And we allow these teams to sneak back into it. And now part of that is because the defense is so bad, because that defense allows them to score the points.
That's what I was going to say, though. But wouldn't you think that would feed into the aggressiveness?
You would think
if you knew the ineptitude of the defense, that you would take every opportunity and make every possession count and try to bury the team and outscore them and not hang on to a lead. Right?
Correct.
When you see the conservative play calling and that's usually with a team that knows they can lean on their defense to get those stops and hang on to that 3-point lead, 6-point lead, whatever, or less than 20 points. We have not been in that position once this entire year, not even against like Maine, right? So like, yeah, you'd think that knowing that your defense, that you don't have, a high level of trust in them to get key stops and key moments, that you would take some of those shots, be more aggressive, step on their throat, and try to put the game away from the offensive side.
Yes.
Where it doesn't matter how bad the defense is, it's just we dig the hole too deep.
Correct. No, that's exactly where my mind is exactly what you just said. So, well, we'll see. Well, I'm afraid this will be the only change until they hire the defensive coordinator and then they makes the changes that he wants to make for the staff. But I'm kind of concerned that this is it, which is what we've talked about. I thought the last episode that honestly that this could be probably the most likely outcome would be just the defensive coordinator gets changed and then that's it.
And wholesale changes on that. I mean, you bring in a new DC again. The linebackers coach is already gone. You're probably not getting rid of the entire staff because someone has to coach the defensive side, right?
Correct.
And in the bowl game, you could elevate analysts and stuff. Obviously, Georgia Southern doesn't have as many as like a Power 4 team, but like we do have, you know, a pretty big staff where you could move some move some deck chairs around. But yeah, I think, you know, I expect an overhaul on that side of the ball, not just with the DC. Let him hopefully, you know, find a competent DC, find someone with play calling experience, more than 1 year. We'll get into this, Cody. I don't want to like give it away. Not saying a requirement is like more than 1 year of FBS coordinator experience, just like multiple years of defensive coordinator experience.
I think multiple years of coordinator experience with at least 10 years of coaching experience overall. And the three guys that, I don't know if we talked about all of these three guys on the podcast yet, but I know that the three guys that you and I have talked about a lot privately have all reached that criteria. But no, you're absolutely right. I don't want positions coach from a P4 school who is 26 years old and this is his first time taking over a defense.
I don't even want one that's like 45 years old.
Yeah.
That has never called plays before.
Correct.
I also don't want the guy that's like the journeyman that's like has been at, you know, 3 or 4 different P4s and maybe, you know, FCS or something like that.
Mentioned Tarleton State's defensive coordinator who fits that mold, in which he's been all over the SEC and everywhere else. And I think he's like in his mid-50s. And I'm just like, I don't think Tarleton State's defense is because of that guy. I think it's because of just the program that Tarleton State has developed over the last 20 years as to why they're so good. But I understand why folks would want to put him on the list, because Tarleton State is a really good football team.
Yeah, and
he fits that mold as the journeyman guy that has always gone around, and now he's at this stop.
Yeah, like the guy that I'm thinking of. Is it Golden? No, who's the guy that App State had him as a defensive coordinator, and he was like at Georgia Tech for a little bit.
Yeah, no, the name escaping me, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's who I'm thinking of, right?
Yes.
Like someone like that. Like I don't know if he ever went to the FCS level or where he's at now, but like he had been at a bunch of like ACC schools, maybe SEC. Yeah. Went to App State, I remember mixed emotions there because they're like, well, he was at all these schools, but like he wasn't good, right? We've seen that with like offensive line coaches, right? Yep. Like not our current offensive line coach, but our offensive line coach before that. He had been at like Oregon State and like all these places, and it's like, oh, on paper,
you and I kind of call that out,
right?
Quick.
But then you match up the years, right? You have to match up the years. Like, okay, you were at Florida State. Were you at, you know, playoff Florida State? Correct. Or were you at dumpster fire Florida State? Like what yeah, and yeah, so like I don't want someone like that just because they have the P4 experience on their resume. Have they been successful in that role, or have they just like been a revolving door?
I'm telling you right now, and this is just me being very honest. This hire is going to make or break whether I want Clay Helton after the 2026 season.
100%.
Because if he goes after somebody who's like his buddy, you know, or he goes after somebody that's like a family friend that, you know, his daddy and their daddy coached a long time ago, now he's going to give this guy a shot to be, I'm going to, and unless that defense is like top 25, which it freaking won't, we all know, I'm done. I'm done with this is just my good old boys. I'm just trying to get everybody a job and get paid and get experience and move on, yada, yada. No, I'm done with it. I'm done. And I want the best defensive coordinator you can go hire. I want somebody, like you just said, experience that has a lot of coaching experience behind that coordinator experience. And if it doesn't fit that, I'm going to lose it. You will probably have to change the X account password because I'm just going to go off.
Ape, you know. Yes. Well, I hear you and I agree. I think because he has had that pattern, right? We've talked on this podcast, you know, extensively about him not, you know, letting go of coaches. That the only one that he has moved on from is Whitley, right? That he inherited just for continuity purposes.
But he stayed for a year after that.
He stayed for a year after that.
Bailey did that.
Right. So, so like at least let's give credit where it's due. Like at least he did this. Now we don't know how much of a force of hand situation it was from Davis or anyone else, but at least he did it. But I agree that not only the hire itself, like the name he brings in the connection, I think he'll be judged on that. Ultimately, he'll be judged on the results on the field, both overall record, what we achieve next year, and ultimately how that defense does. I think top 25 is unrealistic, but again, can we get in the top 75, top 70, maybe even top 50? And I think if we found the right guy, I absolutely think that's possible. I think
that's what I was going to say. I think
the guys we have on the roster,
I think you can utilize
I think
you can utilize the transfer portal. I think you can just utilize competent coaching on top of that. And I think being in the top half of college football and defense is definitely a doable, goal to have.
Yeah.
Now, do I want Clay Helton to go out there in all the daggum media tours and everything else like he did 2 years ago, saying we have a top 25 defense and all that crap? No, I just want him to just keep it humble, keep it simple, and move on. We're doing our best to improve it. We'll see how the season pans out.
And that's why we've lost trust, right, in him, because he did that. He went on that road show and basically touted a Brandon Bailey defense that wasn't this historically bad, but was still bad, still in the bottom 10, bottom 5 of all Georgia Southern defenses. And you're saying it's going to be a top 25 defense. That immediately loses trust amongst the fan base and anyone who knows anything about football, because what are you seeing that we're not seeing, right? Like you're sitting there at practice, you're sitting there in the film sessions, and you're saying, you're looking at the depth chart and you're saying, yeah, this is a top 25 defense. Yeah. It ends up being
you and I sit there and talked about it in the pregame or the preseason shows that year. And we said, all right, let's look at it from 2 points of view, points per game and yards per game. And we were just like, there's no way. Like there's no like there is too much of a jump to go from where we were at to that. And you're right. When you say something like that, and then one, it doesn't happen, and two, you're way off base. You're absolutely right. You lose trust. Yeah. Clay Helton may be a savant when it comes to football knowledge and X's and O's and everything like that. But if you say I have a top 25 defense and they're in the bottom 25 defense, how can I trust your perception and how you judge talent and how you judge development? It's gone.
I agree, and he doesn't have a strong track record, not just at Georgia Southern, but even at USC, right? It was Pac-12. They're not known for defenses, but certainly that was one of his, downsides there, and one of his criticisms from the fan base was that, look, he cannot field a competent defense to save his life. I understand that's not his specialty, but was it that he couldn't find the right people? Was that he didn't prioritize recruiting on the defensive side of the ball? I don't know. But all I know, again, result wise, it wasn't there. It wasn't up to snuff, and it hasn't been here. So again, I think Cody and I aren't even cautiously optimistic. We're just it's going to. I agree, Cody, that it's going to define how I view his future here. The track record does not leave us very optimistic of who he'll go get. And what I hope, and anyone can change and stuff. And I get the good old boy network and giving people an opportunity. I would hope that this is far outside the tree, far outside, like someone that he does not know. Someone go out and cold call people, go out and try to find 5 degrees of separation and things like that, but go find that defensive coordinator at Stephen F. Austin that you've never spoke to. Go find that defensive coordinator at Toledo that has one of the best defenses in the country, and go get one of the best group of 5 defensive coordinators that you can. Pay them, money that we would have paid to get rid of Helton if we had done it this year. Go do that and let that guy run the defense.
Yes.
Just let him do his thing. You still set the tone and the culture and blah, 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 but let him run the defense. And
I wouldn't even let him. No, he doesn't set the culture and the tone for the defense. Honestly, honest to God.
No, yeah. I agree. You almost treat it like two different teams, right? Go and find the best defensive mind you possibly can and let him just run that show.
Yeah.
And when it's your time to touch the football, then it's Helton and Applin.
Yes.
But when it's the when the defense needs to be on the field, you're basically turning your headsets off. Like,
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what I would. I know that's certainly a non-traditional like way of doing things, but
because it does not show history, like at least from what we can see, that defensive wise is his specialty. So I think you have got to do something different.
It's not his specialty, and it's also, I think most people have called out, it's not a priority.
Yeah,
for him, right? It's just not something like.
So go find somebody who can make it a priority and make it damn good, and then stay out of their way.
Breathes and sleeps it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, welcome to Gotta Talk. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Can Cut Tools. Thank you, Andy Thompson. I know he was kind of indifferent and texted me about winning the game and making a bowl and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely go show them some love. Can Cut Tools, premium drill bits and cutting tools. It is the holiday season, obviously, Cody. This is quality stuff, all made in the USA. It's Georgia small business. It's specialty stuff. Talking about specializing in something, so it's not for everybody, right? It's not going to be just a gift for dad or a gift for grandpa that you could get a drill bit set at Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. But if you have someone that owns a shop, that is a shade tree mechanic, right? Found out what that means, and is serious about the craft, definitely give this a look. So it's cancut.com. You can find them at cancut.com. It's KNKUT.com. Our secondary sponsor, Section 103. Go to section103.com to see the Georgia Southern Collection apparel for men, women, and children. New hats, new shirt designs, all the time. It is Black Friday season. I don't know when we'll get this episode out. I'll try to get it out on Monday, which is Cyber Monday. But they have been running a sale, Cody, for the past week, where you get 20% off your order. So if we do get this out, I'll be putting some stuff out on social media. I've put out a few things already. So definitely go check that out and get 20% off on your favorite items. But if you catch this after Cyber Monday, you can still save 10% by using code GATATALK at checkout. That's GATATALK. And it's section103.com. So yeah, Cody, let's rewind, I guess, a little bit. Tybo on the Marshall game. I guess, yeah, what else do you want to talk about there? Obviously, huge performance by Camden Brown.
Breaks
the record.
Players. Yeah.
Like, so there's obviously his performance in this game, but I want to talk about collectively, what he's been able to accomplish this year and spend some time there.
Yeah, obviously, Camden Brown has shattered many of the receiving records in a single season with touchdowns and yards. A fantastic game, was a big part of us starting off 14-0 to start the game. I think, what did he finish his stat line with? I know it was 2 touchdowns, but what was his total yards from the stats?
9 receptions for 157.
157. Okay.
17.4 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. I think he caught everything. He might have had 1 drop, but they fed him early and often that game. 1, because he's probably the best player on the field, and 2, obviously they did want him to break that record, and
obviously
rose to the occasion.
And he did, and it was I mean, one of the best receiving performances throughout the entire season that I can ever remember. And obviously, I mean, he set so many records. A very bright spot in what has been really a very dim season overall, right?
Yep.
Somebody that you could go, and regardless of how the outcome went, it felt like you were going to have something excited to get about by just watching this play. To me, it looks like he should be playing on Sundays, or at least given the shot to play on Sundays, and at the very least, go play Canadian Football League. It just, I don't know, Matt. I feel like this is this sort of type season maybe open the doors for other receivers that may think about transferring into Georgia Southern, or for recruiting purposes to recruit to Georgia Southern
I
and
think
say,
so.
hey, look, we just had our first 1,000-yard receiver. He just tacked in 14 touchdowns. We're about to go to a bowl game. He's going to get some more. He's going to extend that record. This is something that you have the potential to do here now, if not more. But yeah, I think legacy wise, he has now opened the door to show other kids that, hey, this can happen here. Come to Georgia Southern.
100%. He set the blueprint. He's an excellent case study. We would be doing a disservice if the coaching staff didn't immediately, print, make an entire PowerPoint.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
On him. Right. Stephen Watkins, a longtime listener to the podcast. You might know him as SWAT, a longtime supporter of the program, former homecoming king during our days of being students. Cody put out a good post, this morning about this. I reshared it with some commentary of my own. But yeah, I mean, he's spot on. It was exactly kind of what you just said there, of use this as that case study of hey, look, there's all this talk around, the transfer portal, it's killing college football and blah, blah, blah. And, there's pros and cons to everything, but looking at the positives, the pros, especially for a group of 5 program like us, is Camden Brown.
Yes.
Case in point, you're talking about a guy that came from a P4, SEC school in Auburn, 3 years there, had his best year as a freshman, and then kind of fell off quite a bit. Less than 300 yards, total in his 3 years at Auburn, and then goes on and eclipses 1,000 yards for the first time in Georgia Southern history, with 1,049 yards, 63 receptions, 14 touchdowns. Becomes our wide receiver 1. Will be a shoe-in for all Sun Belt honors. First team obviously, and possibly even All American honors. And like you said, yeah, probably get a combine invite to the NFL Combine, and could potentially get drafted. He's not getting drafted at Auburn with less than 300 yards in 3 seasons. He's not. I don't care what his intangibles are. I don't care, what his shuttle time is, or how high he can jump, or what his 40 time is. He's not getting an invite without playing time, without film, and without a stat line like that. So
correct.
The detractors out there will say, well, he did it at Georgia Southern because it's easier competition and blah, 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 and not Auburn. But it's look, sometimes all you're looking for is an opportunity. And we've seen plenty of guys that, drop from the Power 4 level to the Group of 5 level, or from FBS to FCS, and put up crazy numbers and go on and have really successful NFL careers. So yeah, sometimes you just need that change of scenery. Sometimes you just need that opportunity, and for coaches to believe in you. And credit to the coaching staff, for finding Camden Brown, a guy that it wasn't like he was a local kid. He's from Louisiana. He's from Monroe, Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
So very well, if he was going to come to a conference, a Sunbelt school, could have went to UL Monroe and returned home.
Or Lafayette. Shouldn't say Lafayette.
Yeah.
Should just say Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana in Lafayette. But exactly, right? So yeah, he's not like a Savannah kid, but yeah, like we saw with Dex, right, from Macon.
Mm-hmm.
But there's plenty of those too,
Yeah.
and so that's the thing. It's it's the state of Georgia is a recruiting hotbed. Guys come and go. Things work out. Things don't work out. Grass isn't always greener. And, having the transfer portal as that kind of fail safe of hey, things aren't going the way I envisioned. Let's go try our hand somewhere else. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, obviously he's a case of a time that it did in a big way.
It did. Yeah. And no, I hate that it's only for one season. He's represented, I think, himself and the university phenomenally. And it's been a fantastic just pleasure just to watch him play and showcase his talent on the football field. It's been, we're used to seeing great running backs and great
Yeah.
quarterbacks. Very rarely do we get to see great receivers. And this year we got to see one of the best. One of the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, it's one of the best. I mean, honestly, like I think he'll go down, similar to like a Calvin Treese, a guy that like
Yeah.
no one knew anything about, shatter the record books. And really same thing, right? I mean, we were not used to seeing 3,000-yard passers, obviously, at Georgia Southern, obviously before Camden Brown hadn't seen 1,000-yard receiver.
Mhm.
But running the type of offense we run, you can have that now.
Yep.
So we can provide that opportunity. You can also have 1,000-yard rusher. You can also have.
We almost had both. If OJ doesn't get hurt, I think he has
if OJ
shot.
doesn't get hurt, I think you get that. Jalen White, if he doesn't get hurt, I think he's 1,000-yard. So
Yep.
we still can have these guys and produce this. Like it's a team game, not an individual game. But the ultimate destination for most of these guys is to make it to the league.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yes, NIL is a thing now. That's obviously going to be small potatoes at most Group of 5 schools. You're not going to it's not like life-changing money, but even the P4 stuff outside of a handful of players that are making millions upon millions, right, you're still going to make way more in the NFL, even as like a late round draft pick and like a third string player, than you probably are going to be in college. So, it's again, yeah, it gives you a path to that if that's your ultimate goal, where if you stay right in the bench at a P4 program, you're probably not going to get that opportunity. So it's looking at like glass half full with the transfer portal and with NIL. No, we're not going to be as competitive as even some other Group of 5 teams, including in our conference, like a JMU, but certainly not most of the P4 institutions. But we can use it to our advantage with kind of the Camden Brown playbook, if you will, blueprint.
Yes. We need to shout out the 2 running backs too.
Yeah, go ahead.
That played. Who's it? Todd and Baker.
Yep, Teo Todd. Yep,
All right.
Bryce Baker.
All right. What was their stats? Because I thought they both played phenomenal for not
so
playing at all this year.
They combined for 100 yards, 13 carries for Teo Todd, 60 yards, 15 or 12 carries, I'm sorry, for Bryce Baker for 42 yards. And then no touchdowns for either of them.
Yeah.
But some key runs, right? So like stats that aren't going to jump off the page if you didn't watch or listen to the game. But yeah, they ran hard. They made some shifty moves.
Baker had some really good runs, tough runs that probably could have only been 3 or 4 yard gains. It ended up being 6 to 8 yard gains. I thought Todd had his moments in which he was able to cut through and find some holes, being shifty as he was, to gather, extra yards either for the first down or make it second manageable or third and short. I just felt like their play, with them not playing at all the entire season. I don't even know what are they even sophomores?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Teo Todd's a freshman.
Okay.
And then
I think Baker's an underclassman
Bryce
too.
Baker, I want to say he's a freshman too. So
All right, so they're 2 freshmen, who probably at the beginning of the season was way on down the depth chart. Probably didn't see any practice time really after fall camp ended, and for them to 1, stay in shape to where they can last a whole game, and 2, produce what they did in Marshall, which isn't the easiest place to play when it's cold as all get out. It's great. I mean, I thought their runs, while it doesn't jump off the stat line, some of their runs were huge runs to get us to either continue a drive that led to a score or to just eat up time of possession, which obviously was a big factor in this game.
Also receiving, Teo Todd 4 receptions, 24 yards, and Bryce Baker 1 reception for 13 yards.
Fantastic. So even then, you can see that they're not just running the ball type backs. They can do both. They can catch and take it out of the backfield. So you and I both talked about the last couple of weeks how some production, obviously a lot of production is going to get lost going into next year. One place we thought was going to be the running backs with OJ Arnold leaving. Looks like we may be in pretty good hands. looks like between Todd and Baker, and maybe if Gibbs comes back, we may have a pretty good stable running backs back there
But
still.
Dinga still has one more year too
Does he?
if he gets healthy. I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. I'll check on that, but I think he still has 1 year. So yeah, I think we got a good stable, and then certainly could beat that up through high school recruiting and the portal. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the revolving door of running backs. I mean, it's healthy. J.C. French too. He was second leading rusher in the game, 15 carries, 51 yards. And then had a good day passing the ball, 24 for 37, 313, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So outside of that Old Dominion game, I mean, he had a very, very strong, I would say, second half of the season. Played, clean football and made the throws when they counted.
Yeah. Thought the offensive line did pretty well. Didn't think they
Yep.
did bad. I don't think we even gave up a sack the entire game. If it wasn't
I
too
don't have that.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think. Anyways, I didn't feel like they were really rushing that bad at
I gave up
French.
one sack.
One sack. Okay. I thought the offensive line played well. Again, when we did rush the ball, it felt like the holes were there. We were getting great push. For the most part, I would say for 2.5 quarters, the defense played pretty decent. No, outside of the last like 3 drives. So I will give some props there to them, but at the same time, it turned into, what it usually turns into. Grant DeMarshall, I think they made a change at quarterback. That probably threw us for a little bit of a loop. But no, I thought with the season on the line, with us going to Marshall, with as bad as we played on the road, I did not expect us to play this well in this final game. So I am very pleasantly surprised by the heart and the fight that they played with against Marshall, because it didn't seem that Marshall players had the same intensity to want to win as we did.
I agree, especially after the game kicked off. I mean, they were both. I started to rewatch. I was driving across the country. We went to go see my parents for the holiday in Georgia. Made the 22-hour trek across the country for that. Yeah, did it yesterday in 2 days, Cody. And so it was a lot. So I was driving through the middle of nowhere, Kansas, for most. Was able to listen to Danny Reed on the call for most of it until I got into like spotty locations, but started to rewatch the game this morning. Haven't had a chance to rewatch the whole thing, but at the very beginning, I did see both sidelines really hyped, which we haven't seen consistently on the Georgia Southern side this year. So that was good. But yeah, as the game played out, it definitely seemed that Georgia Southern just wanted it more, which is good to say, and good, going into the bowl game. Depending on when that is, obviously we'll have, a couple week break at least. The Sun Belt bowl games are earlier in the bowl season, outside of, I believe, like one. But yeah, so hopefully that can carry over to that, and they can treat, that game with the same emotion and determination and just will to fight and will to win. Because I think that's what's really been missing for the previous 3 years. When we reached a bowl game, we just look like it's, maybe we don't want to be there.
Do we want to jump into that?
We can't jump in that. I want to shout out Weston Bryan though.
Yes.
If we're talking, I mean, 2 for 2 passing, 42 yards, touchdown. Should have had another touchdown. And I just looked at his career, it is his career stats. It's his season stats. He's a true freshman. But it's not, if you're not a Georgia Southern fan, it's not going to jump off the page at you, right? Because he's had limited touches, but passing, Cody, he's 7 for 8 for 84 yards. It's an 87.5% completion percentage for 3 touchdowns.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. You know what I liked? There was a run that he had that I think he got the first down on or close to it, and he slid, and when he slid, the Marshall player hit him late. Now, I thought that any contact after a slide was an automatic penalty, regardless if it was intentional or what, but they didn't call it. And what I like about the situation is he came up ready to brawl, and he came up with some intensity and some energy and just some life that was just like, that's I want some fight. That showed just a fight that I don't think we typically see and I liked it. It was great. It was great to see as a fan. But no, I don't know if you could have scripted a better freshman year for Mr. Bryan. I think he is what we all hoped he could be, and I hope. I think a lot of fans hope that his role in the offense continues to not just improve, but we see more of him in the offense.
Volume
Volume, yes.
increases and his role evolves.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, just straight up. If JC French stays, and obviously he would be the QB1, but I would not oppose Ellison Upshaw situation where we put Bryan in for an entire series, whether that's the third or fourth series of each half, and let him grow that way too.
I agree. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen with the stat. It's not. I mean, look,
it may not.
Yeah.
But this is maybe again it was a similar situation. Ellison obviously had the pedigree and the experience of running the option based offense. Willie Fritz and company saw something in Upshaw that was like, hey, I think this guy could be something better, but we need to get him. We need to get him some experience running the offense, especially if Upshaw, gets injured, which he was prone to do, and it paid off. You saw where, looking at that UGA game in 2015, where Upshaw came in and kind of really, you could kind of see at that point where he was really starting to gain his confidence in his footing and running the option offense. And then you really saw it in the bowl game against Bowling Green when he just took over that second half, and that was it. And you were like, oh, this is why we had him play, every third series of each half. This was right because we were trying to get to this point. I think the same thing for Weston Bryan. I agree. I think that could be I think it needs to at least be thought about within the coaching staff or in the room.
And I think it is. I think it is being discussed. I think it's interesting, right? We burned his red shirt. He played in, I want to say, every game, at least one snap.
Yeah,
certainly was dressed for every game. But yeah, you get those 4 free games where you can still redshirt. So we burned that long ago. I think a lot of fans, myself included, would have liked to seen him get even more touches than he did, if not playing an entire series and stuff, especially in some of those situations. Could we have seen him against Old Dominion instead of Turner Helton?
Yeah,
Turner Helton's not the future.
Correct. What I did like is, at least in this Marshall game, there was times in which he would come on and then he would play the next play. It wasn't the entire series, but he would come, he would do his QB, run or whatever, and then the next play he was, all right, we're going to take a shot downfield if we got the first down. Or, so I like that.
I like that they gave him passing opportunities. It was certainly still highly scripted or prescriptive, right?
He still has a very limited playbook.
Right. Which is fine, but at least they evolved it more than just I get it, he's a 250-pound kid, but teams pay attention, they watch tape.
Yes.
So we saw, several situations where we put him in an impossible situation where, even as big as he is, it's everybody and their mother knows.
Well, that's the other thing too. Teams watch tape, so now they're going to go into the offseason. They're going to say, all right, Weston Bryan came in and these are all the packages they had for him. Well, now we need to add to it, right? So what's a way to add to it? You give him a whole series to himself. Let him go out there and run it. The teams aren't going to prepare for that. Well, now we're going to have to prepare the whole playbook for him. And what else should they have designed for him that's just specifically for him?
Yeah. I'm with you. I would love it. I just
don't like the 2 QB system for obvious reasons, but I think in this case it makes sense the same way that it made sense with Ellison and Upshaw back under the Fritz days.
think it does. I mean, if he stays, and let's hope he does, you continue to get him playing time, you continue to develop him, and you also make him happy. So he doesn't leave, right? So if it is his team in 27, get him as prepared as possible in 26 to take the reins. And then he has 2 years, with that where it's his team.
Yep.
But you can, you kind of ease, you got his feet wet this year, ease him into it next year, and then let it fly his junior year. That's what I would hope. And then, you get, your third year out of French, which again, we've seen progression out of him. I think, ceiling is probably lower. and he might have hit that, and that or close to it, and that's okay. But I think Weston Bryan has a very high ceiling.
Yes.
But he has to get playing time to realize that potential.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's a great. I can't believe I forgot that one. But yeah, that was a great one to shout out. Was
Yeah.
Weston Bryan because yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about bowl game. I'm trying to think of. Do we do? I mean, we can kind of talk.
There's not
Could be a
much to
part.
talk about
It could be no.
outside.
Again, yeah, we don't know the opponent. We don't know the bowl. I mean, I kind of want to. I guess before we do that, talk about just the season as a whole, right? So, like, okay, we beat Marshall. We're 6-6, 4-4 instead of 5-7, and 3-5,
Yeah.
right? In conference play. Is that big of a difference, Cody? Is that is it like we kind of talked about going into this game?
Does it
Like,
make a difference to me in terms of how I feel about the season? If we'd have lost, I don't think I would be any more frustrated about the season than us winning. I don't think a bowl victory will really change my mind of how I view this season either.
agreed.
To me, we had really obtainable goals of contending for the Sunbelt East Division. That was obviously not the case. Not only did we not contend, but we looked really bad in a lot of games, and we looked really bad on the defensive side of the ball, which should not be the case. Not here at Georgia Southern. Defense was a hallmark of the ERC teams, and to me, I think when we field bad defenses, it's almost an insult to what he started here back in the 80s. And so it's we got to get back to having good defensive games and good defensive staffs.
That's a great point, because a lot of people have made the comparisons, or like, throwing the ball and doing all this, he's rolling over in his grave. No, having the 134th worst defense in the country, he's rolling in his grave for that. He's a defensive guy. Like, he obviously cared about the offensive side. He knew that was important as well, and hired some great, brilliant offensive minds and Paul Johnson, to run the show there. But yeah, he's not an option guy. He's a defensive guy. Right. So, like, you see those comparisons all the time of like, oh, like Irk would hate this, seeing us throw the football, 50 times in a game. No, he'd hate us giving up 3rd and 14.
Or giving up 40 points a game like 6 times this year, whatever it was.
Exactly.
I think what a lot of folks don't remember too is that right before he passed away, he came back to the program with Brian Van Gorder and spoke. I think he spoke to the team the night before the first game, or the night before he passed away, if I'm not mistaken. So he knew that Brian Van Gorder was changing the entire offensive system to a more pro style. So no, I think, to me, when I think about the legacy of ERC besides winning, it's great defensive teams, and we have not had that here in a while, and we need to strive to get back to that.
And physical, like, just physical, punch you in the mouth, assert your will, and just beat teams up, leave them bruised, and so, like, and you can do that on the offensive side, certainly running the football, doing it with the option. You can do that. But I think that's the thing, is like, we've had physical in our like little taglines and mantras for a while now, predating Helton, right back to the Lutzford era. I don't think we've had a truly physical team, certainly not on the defensive side of the ball, but you could argue just across the board, really, since Fritz.
Yeah. I was thinking that maybe a year or two with Lunsford, the defenses looked pretty good, but consistently Fritz and Monkey, I thought the defenses were really good. But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, again, like mean physical defense.
Yeah.
Like there's good. You can have a good defense without that. You can have a good offense where they're like all razzle dazzle and not like physical. But like, I don't think since Fritz and certainly Munkin, we've had just physical teams, and certainly like a physical defense where it's just like you fear them. Like, you do not. Whoever you are, whether you're Power 4 opponent or like, you do not, you leave that game, whether you knew who they were, like you're Georgia or NC State or Georgia Tech, and you didn't know much about us. You left that game being like, man, we just got punched in the mouth. Like, we're lucky, right? Like, we have not had that in a while. So, all right, cool. So there's that. Do we want to talk. Yeah, I agree with everything you said about like, the goal was to win the East, possibly a Sun Belt championship. We lost that in early October. And everything from there, it was like,
Yeah, and
let's
it
just
wasn't
see.
even that we lost it in early October. It's just like how bad we lost it. Like we looked bad against Fresno State. We shouldn't have we shouldn't have looked that bad against Fresno State. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't it was that we looked bad. Right? Like if we'd have went 9-3, 7-1 in conference or something like that, I don't think we'd be a lot more positive going into the bowl game and going into next year.
Yeah.
This is like we scraped by to get to 6-6. Like we
Yeah,
really
against
had
bad
to,
teams.
against
Bad teams
yeah.
and mid teams. I was looking today. The only team. Do you know the only team? We don't count Maine. Do you know the only team? And I don't know what Maine even finished with. So they might not even qualify in this. If you did want to count them, but the only team that we beat that finished the year with a winning record.
I know Coastal was a winning record in
6-6. They finished 6-6. They were a winning record when we played them,
and they were 5-3 overall in conference. Hold on, give me a second. We lost that we beat, right?
That we beat.
We beat definitely not Georgia State, Jacksonville State. So Jacksonville State in week 3 beat them 41-34. They finished 8-4. They are hosting the Conference USA championship game for the second straight year. Is it against Kennesaw?
I think it's against Kennesaw. Yeah, so that'll be a good one to watch. But yeah, so they obviously lost Rich Rodriguez and all that, but yeah, they are the only obviously out of conference team, but they're the only one that we played with. I don't know if they had a winning record at the time. I think they might have been 1-1, but they finished with a winning record, and yeah, Coastal would have been the second closest to that. They had a winning record when we played them. Finished 6-6. Fire their coach.
Yes.
Tim Beck out at Coastal Carolina. Other big news out of the conference.
Similar records to our head coach.
Very, very similar records to our head coach, with winning, 500 or better records.
Bet they hadn't renewed his contract since they first signed him 3 years ago.
He wasn't getting 5-year extensions every year. Thanks for that, Cody. But yeah, only there for 3 years. I think his best season was 8 wins. I think 8-5. Then he had 6-6 this year, and I want to say 6-7 one of the other years.
We were 3-0 against him.
That sounds right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, darn.
Yeah.
We'll see where they'll go. That'd be interesting to see.
But yeah, App not making a bowl game.
Fantastic.
Great. Georgia State, like I said, only wins 1 game against FCS opponent.
Even better.
Yep. And then, I don't know what Maine finished with. I know they were winless when they played us, but I know they went on like a 5-game winning streak. So maybe they finished with
I don't think they made the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. Does ESPN even show it?
No, I know they didn't make the playoffs. I didn't see their name on the thing.
Yeah, okay. They're 6-6. Yeah,
oh, okay.
Right on cue. Yeah. So again, we're mid-program that beats mid-programs. That's what it is. Like that. Some days, and sometimes we don't. But yeah, we're an average football team that can beat average programs, which is a good segue to the bowl game. Because typically in the bowl game, yes, there's other 6-6 programs that make it. There's a lot of 6-6 programs in the Sun Belt. 9 teams, Cody, are eligible for a bowl out of the Sun Belt. There's only 4 or 5 bowl tie-ins, but it seems like everybody's going to get a spot somewhere. So we could end up in a bowl that's familiar, like Camellia and Montgomery. Probably not the R&L Carriers Bowl, right? The New Orleans Bowl for the second straight year.
Yeah,
but we could be back in Conway. We could be in the Cure. We could be in Mobile, or we could be in one of these other ones that we haven't been in yet, where there's like a 3-conference kind of tie-in situation, like the Frisco Texas Bowl and things like that.
I think Boca Raton was another one
Boca
too.
Raton, yeah, that would be an interesting one. But yeah, where I'm concerned, I mean, I have several concerns. Obviously, one is the defense, right? Regardless, because it's the defense is still the defense. Just getting rid of Bailey is not. But maybe they get like a new, zest of life, right? With that news and with Darius Hafford calling plays, who knows? But looking at I was looking at Conference USA standings today, MAC standings today, even American standings, and all those teams kind of scare me, right? I think it was
Yeah, I agree with you. There's whoever we get is going to be a team that we're probably going to look at and think, well, if we play half a football game, we're probably going to get smacked in the mouth by whoever it is that we go up against.
like the MAC doesn't even have any 6-6 teams. So there's they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams going to a bowl, and they're all 7-5 or better. But the best 3 teams are Western Michigan, Ohio, and Toledo, all at 8-4 overall.
I doubt we get any of them.
Yeah, but we could get Miami of Ohio. We could get Central Michigan, which are both 7-5. Yeah, so and everybody else is 5-7 or worse. So yeah, we could get Miami of Ohio, we could get Central Michigan, but I was looking at who they've played and the results and stuff, and I don't know. And then out of Conference USA, you have actually pretty similar. I want to say the only 6-6 team is Delaware, which is a FCS transition team. They and Missouri State, both in Conference USA, are going to be going bowling because of lack of teams that qualified this year. So Delaware 6-6, Missouri State 7-5, FIU, Florida International 7-5, Louisiana Tech, who will be joining the Sun Belt next year or beyond, 7-5. Western Kentucky with Helton's brother 8-4, and then you have Kennesaw State at 9-3, and Jacksonville State at 8-4 overall, but 7-1 in the conference.
Yeah,
hosting that game. So
it'll probably be a Conference USA or a MAC team. More than likely, not probably a MAC team. I just we have not looked well. We have not looked great or good at all in the 3 previous bowl games.
No.
Probably the best we looked was maybe the first bowl game against Buffalo, but definitely the last 2 we have not looked really great in at all.
No.
We get, I think, 15 extra practices. You and I discussed this prior to the show. The great benefit that a lot of fans harp on as to wanting to be bowl eligible is to get those extra practices for development. I think you and I agree that we have not seen the development of those extra practices over the last 3 seasons that we would hope to see going into the following season. I guess what I'm saying is I don't, even though we get these extra practices, this extra time to prepare for this bowl game that should hopefully make us better going into the 2026 season, are you confident that we're taking these practices seriously? Are you confident that we're using these practices for development for not just the players who are currently will
I don't
play,
think we're
but
using it for development. Yeah, because you think back to the Davis Brin year.
Yeah,
it's if you were looking at it like that, then play J.C. French in that game and have.
But he was hurt in that game, so you have to play somebody else that you were trying to see if he had a chance to.
Well, even that, yeah. See, who you have behind him, right? Again, Davis Brin didn't have a future here, so and that's just picking on the quarterback position, but you could go across the down the board of if you're approaching it that way, then I think you treat it very differently. You shake up the depth chart. You give guys experience and reps playing with the ones and things like that, and use it as almost a preseason game for next year, like a development, those 15 practices and then the game itself as a developmental game for next year. Instead, I think we treat it equally like a non-serious exhibition. This doesn't ultimately count game, but we do so with just who we've rolled out there the whole year.
Yeah.
Right. And for some of those seniors, I'm not saying like the seniors are, I'm happy for the seniors that they get an extra game. I'm happy for all the players that they get an extra game. But like, what's the point of going out and playing it if you're not like actually trying to win? So, you know, in the past 3 years, it just has looked like we, like you were saying against Marshall, like we didn't look like we wanted to be there collectively. We didn't look like, you know, we were prepared to play. And the guys that we played, it was like no sweat off their back, with some of them anyway, of like what happens, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
like, again, with the quarterback situation specifically those first 2 years with like Van Treese, now he was playing his old team, you would think he would want to like stick it to them in Buffalo, but he didn't have a good game. Davis Brand had a terrible game, but you know, he packed his bag and left after that. And like, you know, so I don't know. I think like we could approach it like that. We haven't approached it like that. There's no evidence that we're going to approach it like that, you know, and
Yeah, I've also felt like too that the opponents have always wanted to be there more than we have.
yeah, that's
Like,
what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
feel like the opponents have always wanted it more. I feel like
Yep.
they've always wanted the victory more, and that for this coaching staff, it's almost like just making the bowl game is the accomplishment, not winning the bowl game.
Not winning it.
And that, you know, we get out there and we're just sometimes we're flat. Like I remember thinking back the Sam Houston State one last year where I think they ran the ball really well in Conference USA. And we stopped the run, surprisingly. We stopped the run. But we let a quarterback who was like 50% completion percentage throw for like 23 of 27. And we just would give these receivers 10 yards off. It just let them hit these easy completions. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm glad that you're stopping their run game, but hell, we can't sit there and let them just have these wide open receivers to throw to.
Right.
On top of that, giving away like 5 or 6 turnovers in that game. So
something like that. Same with Ohio the year before. They had a third string quarterback they were playing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing.
And they were
is
much better coached for that game. Even the third string guy. I mean, they just blew our socks off in that one.
So yeah, I mean, look, Sam Houston was a good team last year. They're not this year. They're dead last in Conference USA at 1-7 in the conference and 2-10 overall. But you know,
we should have blown their brakes off.
We should have. We should have. And same with Ohio coming in battered and injured and with a third string quarterback. And then Buffalo, honestly, like we should have won that game too. So that's the thing is like those were good teams record wise. I want to say Buffalo, we were 6-6. I think Buffalo might have been 7-5. And so that was close. Now, Ohio and Sam Houston were both 9-win teams, I want to say, when we played them.
Ohio
I think they
was
were
either 8 or 9, and then I think Sam Houston was
9, I think.
Were they 9? Yeah, either 9 or 10. It was up there.
They might have been 10, and we were 8.
Yeah, because their coach left for Temple this year. So yeah, they were pretty high up there.
So that's the thing is like I just, you know, look at
look, it's I understand. You look at who we could play, and if all you're telling me is that the teams that we beat this year have been 500 or below or worse, besides one team, and honestly, we played Jacksonville State at the very beginning of the season with a new coaching staff, and they're trying to get their, you know, their system in place
beat us now, probably.
I think they're a much better team than what they were when we played them in September.
Kennesaw State, if we played them, I don't like that.
Man.
At all.
Man, you talking about a game that Clay Helton would have to win. Like, I don't know if he gets back to Statesboro if we lose that. Oh, no, but I think there's a valid concern if you're a fan of how we take this bowl game and how seriously we take this bowl game, which if we're not going to take it seriously, if we're just going to kind of treat it as like a 2-week vacation and, you know, we get the kumbaya with some extra practices and we get to have
get to bowl, like literally bowl.
Offensive linemen catch punts and, oh man, it's so fun. If this guy catches a punt, then we don't have to practice. And if the defensive lineman catches a punt, then we get to go eat somewhere, you know, some crap like that. You know, I'm all well and good for having some fun at times, but I would like for this one to be taken a little bit more seriously, and I would like for this one to actually show that we care and that we actually want to win and dominate the opponent.
Agreed.
Like
The
that's
most fun thing is winning, right?
yes,
I mean, it should
yes,
be. It should be. So, like, and again, like, why are you cutting into your Christmas break? Why are you, doing all this stuff, whether you're a senior or underclassman, like, if you're just going through the motions and you don't actually want to be there
yeah,
and you don't want to win the game? And again, like, I'm not speaking for like every single player because there's a ton of them, but it looked like the last 3 years that, like you said, certainly the other team on the opposing sideline looked like they wanted it more, looked like they wanted to be there more,
hmm
looked like they were more focused and prepared for the task at hand, and not just like getting to hang out in Myrtle Beach
yeah. And
or
I
New
think that's
Orleans.
a coaching leadership attitude is that I feel like the coaching staff kind of treats it as this is just a this is just a fun
It's a little
time.
exhibition
Yeah,
field trip instead of
you
like it's
know,
our postseason.
yeah,
It is
I
our
would like
postseason.
for this to be taken a lot more seriously than what it has been the last 2 years, you know?
I agree. I agree. Go down, make it a business trip, make a statement. I mean, I
Yeah,
know it was the year that was the, precursor to let's forget and let go, but like the New Orleans Bowl, right? The
yes,
last bowl game that we won in 2020, dominate Louisiana Tech in that game,
yeah,
right? And like I want that. I want, and which we haven't done all season, so it's probably not going to happen, but like go in and just be like, this team doesn't belong on the same field with us, right? We're the dominant conference. We're the dominant team. Go out there and just bury them.
yes.
That's what I want. I want, that's a great showing on national TV. That, is great for recruiting, but going out there and getting embarrassed by Sam Houston or getting embarrassed by Buffalo or Ohio, that's not, I mean, we're better off sitting at home. Y'all, like we just are. If that's going to be the showing, we're better off being 5-7 sitting at home. That's my only like hope for this. I'm happy we did it for the guys, but I'm hoping that the Marshall game, like we said, is a sign that like, hey, we want to get to this point because we want to make a statement and
Yeah.
we want to win a bowl championship, a bowl trophy, and not just we want 15 extra practices and a chance to like go ride some roller coasters in Orlando,
Correct.
like, so yeah. So cool. Well, that's that. Trying to think of what else. Cody, I did want to. It's still tied to the bowl, but talking about postseason, right?
Yeah.
So like, obviously, there's college football playoffs. James Madison could make it. We'll see how that all shakes out. Um, but for us, the narrative of the athletic department that we've already heard even before the Marshall win, but certainly we'll hear going into the offseason and through the offseason is 4 straight bowl games, right? Which, for the record, has never been done before. We've only been doing this for 10 years. We've only been an FBS program for 10 years. So 4 straight bowl games, but again, 0-3 in those bowl games, pending with the fourth one here coming up. And then, we were 6-6 regular seasons in 2 of those, 8-4 regular season last, or 6-6 regular season in 3 of those, sorry,
Yes.
and 8-4 last year. So I guess, I bring that up because, some people have made like comparisons to like, just postseason, I guess, like, hey, look, we've reached the postseason for, 4 straight times. Like, that's some big accomplishment. But, comparing that to like even the FCS days where it was a true postseason and a playoff format, it's not an apples to apples comparison.
No, not at all. And if you're looking at 4 straight postseason appearances, whether that's bowl or FCS playoffs or 1AA playoffs, however you want to phrase it, we've done this plus 2 more seasons twice now. From 85 to 1990, we went to 6 straight FCS playoffs. And then from 1997 to 2002, we went to 6 straight FCF playoff appearances. I think, and you and I will agree on this, I'm pretty sure of it, but I feel like going to that is more of an accomplishment than just being 6-6 or a 500 team for 4 years in a row. There was teams that we didn't. I think there was the 91 team that didn't make it. That was 7-4, but they didn't make it because they didn't. I think we were still independent, but they didn't produce enough and have a good enough resume to get selected for the FCS playoffs. There
The
were
Hatcher team.
Hatcher team was another one that didn't have it. There was one of the Seawalk teams, I think it was 2002, 2003, that was also well above 500 that didn't make the FCS playoffs because we didn't win the SoCon that year. So I really dislike this narrative that is coming out from the 80s athletic department about how this is a big accomplishment when, one, we've done this already in the FCS days better, right? Longer streaks at six straight playoff appearances twice. And then on top of that, it's just for going 500 when
Right.
we've had
It's way
many
easier to
years
earn it at this level. I
that
mean,
we
it's
went,
yeah.
that we were well over 500. And so while I'm with you, I don't want to downplay, but at the same time, it's not what our goal should be. Our goal should not be just to make a bowl, not
No,
just
it
to be
shouldn't.
bowl eligible. That's a terrible goal to set. That should be the bottom.
Yeah, it's a consolation prize.
Yes.
It's a consolation prize where it's like when the dust settles and everything's done, it's like, oh man, like this didn't go our way. We had a tough break here in this game. We had a bunch of injuries, whatever it is, and we find ourselves at 6-6, 7-5. But hey, we get to play a bowl game. Like that should be it. It shouldn't be like, hey, our main goal of winning the conference is already out of the picture in October.
Yeah.
Because we lost to James Madison and lost to whoever. Well, we can still make a bowl game, and like going into Marshall. Oh, both of these teams fighting for a bowl game, and it's like
I don't want
know.
to be fighting for a bowl game in the last week of the season.
No.
And
we've done that, and that's a point too. We've done that twice now. In year one and this year, right? We had to beat App State.
Yeah.
On the Hail Mary to go, and then had to beat Marshall. So last year obviously had it sealed, the bowl game anyway sealed, and had a chance at a conference championship. And then year before that we
started off 6-2, and this one we lost 5 straight.
6-2. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we lost 5 straight.
So yeah, I think it's almost like the athletic department is trying to just sell the fan base on that we should just be okay and that we should be all happy and go lucky that we're in a bowl game and that this is the 4th straight year we make a bowl game. And I look, it's good, it's fine, but
I would say fine. It's not good. It's fine.
It's not.
It's
what
rewarding mediocrity.
Yes.
Yeah. It's rewarding mediocrity. And again, if we're 8-4, 9-3 consistently, and we get some tough breaks and don't win the East, because we're the only conference with division still, and like James Madison's a juggernaut. Like, I'm not saying I'm happy with that. I'm not complacent with that. But like that's different than being 6-6 and making a bowl game.
Yeah.
So like. I'm not a fan of like 6-6 teams making a bowl game. I think being rewarded a bowl game, you should be a winning football team, and we're not a winning football team. We are a mediocre football team. We are an average 500 football team. We've beaten a bunch of average 500 football teams. That shouldn't get rewarded with postseason play, in my opinion. It just shouldn't. Again, I'm happy for the kids. I am. But
it doesn't sound like it, Matt. It sounds like you're a bad fan.
I'm a bad fan. I'm a bot. I'm just an AI bot. But yeah, it just like you win 7 games, you win 8 games or more. Yes, you should get rewarded for that. In my opinion, 6 is like, I don't want to like sound like that guy. There's too many bowl games, blah blah blah. But like like it's
kind of what you're sounding like.
I think you should earn it. I think you should earn it, and I don't think like. Or, like for Delaware, great for Delaware. For Kennesaw State, great for them. They're new kids on the block. You win 6 or 7 games, absolutely give them. I mean, Kennesaw State might win a conference championship, but like, absolutely give them an opportunity to play a postseason game. But, for someone like us that's been around for 10 years now in FBS, I don't. Yeah, like
No,
show me
I
more.
get you. I get your sentiment, and I understand how you feel on it. I think my biggest flaw, or my biggest flaw, my biggest concern is that it just seems like to me the athletic department is trying to sell the fan base that our new, what we should be happy with should be just making it to a bowl,
Correct.
when it should be conference championships. It should be pushing the envelope of how, JMU has a legit shot of making the playoff this year.
They do.
This and all, fantastic for them, but we should be at that echelon of a football program.
That's
And
what I've said
and
before.
not being there is quite, it's pissing me off. I mean, it just is. It's very frustrating, considering how close we were when we came out the gate in 2014 and 2015.
Right.
And then it was just like, you know what? Athletic department, let's just start making some of the most boneheaded decisions we can make, and let's just see how quickly we can just tank this sucker. And we did. Willie Fritz, hey, you know what? Let's not give him a multi-year deal, and let's just make him mad to where he has to go to a academic institution such as Tulane, who hasn't had a winning football program in like 35 years besides one season in 1998.
Yeah.
And he turns that into what Tulane is now. I mean, honestly, John Summerall, great job of continuing.
Now going to Florida.
Now going to Florida. Great job of continuing what Willie Fritz literally built for 7 years.
Correct.
Not saying we could have held on to Willie Fritz for that long before he got poached off by somebody else, but we were that. We had primed ourselves to go, and we were like, you know what? Let's just start making boneheaded decisions.
JMU is the blueprint.
We haven't stopped making a boneheaded decision since with the athletic department.
JMU is the blueprint. They've gone through so many coaches. They, had a coach that ushered him into the FBS era that now is coaching the number 2 team in the country in Indiana. They have, Bob Chesney that might be going, to UCLA or somewhere else. He's being courted now, and they're probably going to reload with somebody else that's going to take them to the promised land. That's what we want. That's pure
because their athletic department has common sense, and ours have not for 10 years.
They have common sense, and they're not complacent with mediocrity.
Correct.
Either, because look at Coastal, right? Coastal has tasted success, right, with Chadwell and McCall. They hire Tim Beck. Everyone was like, that was kind of a weird fit, but he was around for 3 seasons, and by all measure, they weren't bad seasons. It was funny. I got on one of the reporters that was talking about it, and a bunch of UMass fans were on there. It was like, send them to UMass because we'll take that, right? Because they literally they're starved. They're 0-11 or whatever, and they would give anything to be bowl eligible and to be 6-6, right? But that should not be the standard at Georgia Southern.
No.
And it was promised to us by Banco and all this that that wasn't the standard, and that Lunsford wasn't meeting that standard. But here we are, right? He's 25-24 or 26-25, something like that is the overall record of Clay Helton. That is the standard now. Whether we like it or not, that is the precedent that has been set.
No, that's what they're trying to set.
That's what they're trying.
I think
that's what's been
fans,
set,
and we need to revolt on that. And
we should.
I mean, look, like I said at the beginning of this episode, if the DC change is the only change we make, this will determine whether or not he stays after the following year.
Yeah. And I would hope that he knows that, but
I don't know. I
would hope that he knows how important,
because I don't know if him or Chris Davis understand that, and understand that if that's the only change that's made and it tanks and it goes downhill, let's say he hires somebody who obviously a friend of a friend or is somehow within that Helton coaching tree, right? But this is their first time being a defensive coordinator or whatever the case may be. You're going to have a riot. And
I mean, the The memo itself, I mean, and again, who knows? Like Clay Helton is authored, like he's signed off
Yeah.
on it. Did he write that? Did he say it? I don't know.
No, you know
Was it
how these
Chris
things
Davis?
work.
Was it? Oh no, I'm in the business.
mean,
Like
yeah.
someone like myself writes this, and
Yes.
but
And then the CEO looks over it and says, okay, or makes an edit so that they feel like they have a say in
Correct.
it, and then it goes out. We know how
Correct.
these things go.
Yes, but so but they're reading the statement, regardless of who authored it, did not meet the standard. Unfortunately, did not meet the standard of production that resembles a championship defense this season. I feel that it's time for a change. Elevate. Upcoming bowl game. The upcoming bowl game is extremely important to us. It was interesting that they pointed that out. Search for a new coordinator will begin immediately and will be someone who will lift us up to the standard that is demanded at Georgia Southern. So if you follow that, right, that's vague language there. But if you follow that, I would say that's what we were describing at the beginning of the episode, right? Is like finding someone that actually has experience as a play caller on the defensive side of the ball, that knows what they're doing, that has a proven track record of success of not only showing that they can do the role, but showing that they can turn around a team and do so quickly. Find someone like that. But yeah, if it's just like somebody like you said out of the tree that you just want to give a shot.
If it's the linebackers coach from UGA, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind.
Yeah.
No offense to the linebackers coach at UGA, whoever that person is, but
unless the linebackers coach at UGA was like the top group of 5 defensive coordinator, at like something like that. Like if that's the case, then
but that's how Will Harris got here, right? Because he was a position coach at University of Washington
but he had never been a play caller before.
But he never been a play caller. So the same thing. Right. Like if we go to some top P4 defense and get a position coach that's never been a play caller,
but what I'm saying is
I'm gonna lose it.
Georgia State's former head coach, right, is like the offensive line coach at like South Carolina, right? Never moved his. So like now he was the head coach, but what's another good one? I mean, Ellis, right? Ellis is the tight ends coach at. So like you could say that, like, would a team be happy? Not us, obviously, because we've already had Ellis, but like, would a team be happy getting Bryan Ellis as offensive coordinator, like a group of 5 team? He's the tight ends coach at Alabama, but he had X number of years as a coordinator.
I mean, depending on the FCS or on the group of 5 school, But
that's my point. Is there are guys out there like that.
Right,
like they don't have to be a current defensive coordinator, but they have had to have
see the success of how they were when they were a defensive coordinator. But again, if it's somebody who hasn't had a history of calling plays and it's somebody who this is their first time lead,
no, I don't want that at all. I'll riot. I'm
going to lose it. I'm going to lose it as a fan.
We'll have a podcast where we just like
yell.
Yeah, where we just yell. Because if that's if it's just Brandon Bailey 2.0, like, I'm sorry, he was inexperienced. He had no business in that job. He just did it, right? Yeah. He never played the game. He was a Georgia Southern grad, had ties to the school, had 1 year at Buffalo, and then was analyst and various other things. Like, sure, was under the tutelage of successful guys, but that doesn't always rub off.
No. I'm sure a lot of people studied under Isaac Newton, but they never became smart.
Right. Well, I mean, the example in football is going to be Saban, right? But for every like Kirk Cinetti and Kirby Smart and all of that, there's countless others that I don't know their names, and I don't know their names for a reason. Bush Jones is a good one, but yeah. For every Sark and Lane Kiffin and all that, there's countless others, and it's like, oh yeah, they were under him. It's
funny that you mentioned Nick Saban, because he was I feel like he was very intentional that the coaching talent he surrounded himself by was the best coaching talent anywhere compared to any other team he was playing against. Right? You don't find many misses in his coaching talent. You just don't at all. No. Whereas I think that if to point to an area of growth with Coach Helton, it needs to be, you got to have the best coaching talent around you. In fact, I would argue that if you're going to ask donors for more money, It doesn't need to go to NIL. It needs to go to an assistant pool to hire better coaching staff than
which
what
we used to
have.
have. I think we might still. It's like a coach's continuity fund.
I don't
is
know
what
if
it was
that's
called.
still the case. It's all changed.
Everything's changed, but we used to have that. And
I would rather us focus on having a better staff than because it's an arms race. Are we going to win an arms race against the other G5 schools no? So why not we flip the script and go try to hire the best staff?
No, I 100% agree with you. We can't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, much less millions of dollars, to like these players in NIL. But what we can do is pay our offensive and defensive coordinators the most among any Group of 5 school.
Yeah,
we could do that. We could do that with like the reserves that we've talked about on this podcast, that Clack and stuff has dug up and all that. Like, we could afford to fire Clay Helton right now, it seems, but we're not going to do that, clearly, with everything that's transpired. Like,
and that's why I would go after
instead of paying $250,
and jack it up to $400, $450.
That's what I would do,
and just say, hey, we're gonna go get the best staff we can get.
Yeah. And it's not the linebackers coach, like you said, at Georgia, that in this hypothetical, I don't know who this person is, but like, in this hypothetical, let's right. Like, he's like some savant. He's great. But like in this hypothetical, let's say he has no play calling experience whatsoever. He's just a position coach. I don't want to do that because he's probably making $400,000 as the linebackers coach. But go out and get, again, Toledo's defensive coordinator. Or, there's a couple Group of 5 defensive coordinators in the top.
Or head coaches at the FCS level.
Coaches,
are the
West Georgia's head coach, which they've had a successful season, was the defensive coordinator under Drew Cronick at Mercer. Right? So go get him. He's making $150,000. Go pay him. You could double his salary to $300,000, and you're still, I would think, well within budget. And then there you go. And then you got a guy with like head coaching experience too, which is always good to have. So make him the assistant head coach, and that. And then if things work out and the defense turns around and Helton gets swooped away by somebody, then you got a guy waiting in the wings that we could possibly could hire.
It's an intern guy.
Yeah, at least an interim guy. So
So I mean. Again,
there's options.
There's options there. It's just, again, we'll see how this plays out. I don't expect us to have a hire until after the bowl game, whenever that is, right? So we'll have 2 weeks prep. We still have recruiting. We haven't mentioned a thing about recruiting, but we haven't really kept up with it. We'll maybe do something about it after it.
Yeah.
But at this point, there's so much stuff that happens in December between bowl, conference championships, recruiting. They've got recruiting.
That's changing soon, right? Well, it's getting
recruiting's got to get kicked back to February.
It is. I think they're going back to one cycle.
No, for transfers they are, and that's the January.
For transfers,
it's for
but not for the signing class.
Not for the high schoolers. No,
I think that has.
I think
to change.
You have to.
It's just it's too much chaos. Like, you can't keep up with all this with the 12-team playoff and all that.
No, and I get that you want to have the early enrollees at the high school level, but I think that needs to be something that's just only for transfers that you're getting from another school, like another college, and then, or you know what? I don't even know. Just
I don't know.
I
feel like you could do the early one, but it's only for early enrollees, right? Because I feel like right now it's like you're signing 20 guys in the fall, and then maybe like 2 guys.
So like
in the
if you
spring.
sign somebody in December, they have to.
Yeah,
in January.
Which like they have to have the grades and all that kind of stuff. They have to graduate early from high school and all that.
Could
so
be interesting. But
puts
I feel
in
like
that
it's
requirement.
But more and more kids are doing that now. Like more like it's not like, I feel like the early enrollee thing is something that's just kind of developed in the last, like, I don't know, 5-10 years, to be honest with you.
But I'm sure there's like certain steps that you have to qualify to do that, right? So,
but everything, but I think recruiting, all of it needs to be pushed back to February.
Yeah, because it's a mess. You have people like Lane Kiffin leaving and going to LSU, and it's like, well, what now? What's with
thing too?
Ole Miss's class?
You shouldn't be able to hire coaches until after it's done and over with.
No, it's the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah,
and then transfer portal. Yeah, the transfer portal will help moving that, but then like they need to do restrictions on that of like how many times you can transfer. Nobody should be at their fourth or their 4th or 5th school. That's ridiculous. I mean, they shouldn't, in my opinion. Yeah.
Maybe,
Like,
maybe not.
I don't know. You get one transfer. Like, you get one undergrad transfer or one grad transfer.
Getting very old man pie in the sky.
Dude, go for your education, Cody. Get a degree. It's about diplomas.
Man. All right. Is there anything else? I
That's
think we
it.
kind of hit. Okay.
That's it. So we'll
Yeah.
have more episodes, more than we probably would have before because we're going to bowl. We will have one more episode.
They announce it next
before the bowl
Sunday.
game next Sunday, so a week from when we're recording this. So that following week, maybe that following week, just depending on like
I would
when the bowl
be
game
very
is.
surprised if we aren't playing like that first Saturday in some.
We're most likely playing that
random-
first Saturday. I think there's like a couple that are let's see, like the Scooters Coffee Bowl that I mentioned, which is the Frisco, Texas Bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
I know, like I think JMU may have played in that. That's on December 23rd. So
Okay.
yeah, so that one's a little bit later. Boca Raton is December 31st. New Orleans is December 23rd. The earlier ones are Cure Bowl in Orlando, December 17th. The Mobile Bowl, which is like the 68 Ventures Bowl,
Yeah.
17th. The 19th is Myrtle Beach. And I think that's it for like our Salute to
Okay.
Veterans Bowl. Oh yeah, that's December 16th. So that's the earliest one. That's Montgomery.
Okay.
So the Montgomery Bowl, where it used to be right before Christmas, is now one of the first weekend. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. I don't think there's any on like Saturday. But yeah, and then there's I think some like later ones. Arizona Bowl, I think we technically could be a part of. The New Mexico Bowl, I think we could be a part of. That's December 27th, so that's after Christmas. The Arizona Bowl is Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
That could
yeah.
be cool.
There
Snoop
we
Dogg
go.
Arizona Bowl, presented by Gin and Juice. Talk about old school.
All right. Well, we'll see. Yeah, we're done. All right. We'll see how. Yeah, it'll just wait for the Sunday. As always during bowl season, because we've been there. This is our fourth straight bowl, Matt. We'll see. You'll see plenty of rumors in the first half of the week. It won't be until probably Thursday or Friday when you start seeing some stuff officially leak out with bowls, but the official won't be until Sunday.
We'll wait until it's official.
Yeah.
We'll probably wait that full week unless, it's like.
Yeah, we may retweet some stuff out, but yeah, we won't actually do the pod until it's official.
Yep. No, we'll do the breakdown of the team, all that kind of stuff, and we will do our best to have a
positive
attitude after. Well, no, I was going to say an episode after the bowl game, which
we did it last year, and you didn't.
No, we did it.
Yeah, we did.
We?
Yes,
we had an episode afterward. I didn't post it. That's
you
right.
didn't post it. You didn't post it.
I didn't post it.
Nope.
Yeah. No, that's on me. All right. That's true. Well, we'll try to record and post this time, but a couple episodes left of season 8 of Gotta Talk. Thank you to our sponsors, King Cut and Section 103. And until next time, Cody, and as always, Hail Southern.
Hail Southern.
Man, what